What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com. Here with a man you know, Bad Luck Fale, and you can get to know him a little bit better at the Bullet Club Beach Party, Saturday, April 4th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. It's at Whiskey Joe's in Tampa. You got people like KENTA, the GOD, El Phantasmo, Haku, Matt Taven, Roosh, and plenty more already announced for the event. But Bad Luck Fale, you in a partying mood?
Always in the partying mood.
That's promising, at least. So, what were your thoughts when this was pitched? I mean, they had the Bullet Club block party, obviously, last go around, but the idea of this beach party.
Oh man, this is something new. So I've never been to Florida before, and after hearing about beautiful beaches and weather over there, so this was actually a good way of me getting in shape. So I'm working on my beach look. So losing some weight, trying to get to that beach type of body,
You mentioned not being in Florida before. I don't think that we saw you on the most recent USA tour. Is that something that you're looking to get involved in the future?
Oh, for sure. My only problem is I live in New Zealand, so
Yeah.
it's pretty far. So that's the only problem. The company would only put me on special shows. So something like the beach party is special.
You mentioned New Zealand. It's been a real breakthrough in New Zealand and Australia over the past few years in pro wrestling in general, and you're a big part of that, obviously, with a lot of the expansion going on. How does that make you feel, considering that you are a big part of cultivating a lot of the talent that's emerging from there?
I'm ecstatic. I'm looking forward to the future, and when I first started with New Japan, straight away my thought was taking this back to New Zealand and Australia. You all know how good New Japan, the product is for New Japan. I just thought I'd take it back and share it with everybody back there.
So the Fale Dojo and all the expansion again into New Zealand, was this something that you saw coming for New Japan? Like, did you expect them to do this, or was this something that you pushed for? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I started the school and bringing shows here, expecting that sometime in the future New Japan will take notice and invest in this territory. So for years I've been pushing for this, little by little, made progress, and finally they took notice, and that's where we are right now.
So were they immediately receptive, or was it for them more like, hey, let's wait and see how it goes first?
No, yeah. So everything I had to do on my own at first. I was left with the task of trying to prove to them that this territory was worth investing in. So, little by little, I worked my way up through the company and getting good with the office and try and expose them to the type of talent that I've introduced to them throughout the years, and it's paid off. So,
and obviously New Japan has really, really high standards for cultivating their own talent, and it's been proven. Anytime we see like a group of people leave New Japan, there are new people that are seamlessly transitioned in and are really successful. Was that like a conversation that you all had to make sure everything was up to par, or did they see your track record over there and say, hey, I think it's time?
Yeah, the thing is, if you work at New Japan, you develop a sense of belonging. So you kind of become protective of the culture and the mood and just the company itself. So what you want to do is, it's pretty hard to leave if you ever get a big chance, apart from what you get from Japan. You leave for certain reasons, but for guys like me, I'm homegrown through Japan, so it's hard for me to even think about leaving. So when there was time, they saw that the kind of passion I had for the company and and helping the company grow, then they started giving me little by little of those chances to introduce new talent and do the school and do the shows, which really exposed New Japan to the territory, and our fan base has grown, and the talent around here have started getting interested, and overall it helps the company, and the company repays by doing things like this.
What do you think it is about that New Japan system, whether it be in New Zealand or LA or Japan, that sets it apart from other schools? Because it really does have an insanely high success rate.
Yeah, it's all due to the the suffering you go through training and going to battle with your teammates in the trenches, so to call. So you develop those relationships with all the guys, and you really feel like you're an elite wrestler, because everywhere else you go in the world, you don't do that type of training, and because everybody above you who's been through the same road. And the beauty about New Japan is, if you get in there now, you're getting the same training that they were doing 40 years ago. So everyone that's above you went through the same thing. So that's why it's very special. And if you go through and pass it and you get accepted, then everybody above you is going to treat you like a brother instead of just another guy coming in to wrestle or whatever. So it becomes really a family-orientated type of company.
I mentioned at the top of the interview that Matt Taven and Roosh were announced for the Bullet Club Beach Party as well. They are Ring of Honor stars, and for a while, it looked like that New Japan Ring of Honor relationship might have died down or maybe went away altogether, but we're seeing a lot of the stars kind of cross over again. Does that surprise you? Did you think that relationship had reached its end, or is this just business as usual to you?
No. I think that relationship will always be there. I think a lot of what's happened is due to the two companies, the office side of things. Because as wrestlers, we all work together. Ring of Honor guys, we all work well together. So for them to be coming and being part of this beach party makes it even bigger.
Did you think that by now, or even at all, there would be a New Japan All Elite Wrestling relationship, considering the ingredients involved? Or do you think that the departure of some of those people are maybe the reason that didn't happen?
There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff with the office. All I know is the relationships are okay with all the wrestlers. I'm not sure what the company between New Japan and All Elite, that kind of dealings is going on. I'm not sure what's happening there. So maybe that's the reason. But I think at the same time, the relationship between the office and the wrestlers might have been a little rocky.
There was another, I don't want to say mass exodus, but there was a pretty big departure of talent a few years ago in AJ Styles, Anderson, Gallows, and Nakamura, and there were rumors that you had talks with WWE. Was that true?
No. I was always in New Japan, and I'll always stay with New Japan.
Because, I mean, a lot of people, they wondered, is Tonga going to go? Is Fale going to go? So you never even had those conversations with them.
No, I've had talks with people. I'm not going to say where. So.
Oh, okay. So when a situation like that unfolds, are you and the other guys in Bullet Club, whether it be the guys who helped start it with you or the guys that are currently in it, are you all like, okay, how can we restock the cupboards and actively scouting guys? Do you already have people in mind, or is it okay, we'll see when we get there type of thing?
Oh, it's a combination of both. Like we already have guys in our minds of, how to grow, because ultimately it's all about the company, and if we see somebody who could help us as a Bullet Club, maybe in the future, of course it'll help the company as well. But at the same time, if the company brings somebody right without us knowing about it or whatever. We embrace that because that's us. We work together with anybody. We work well with anybody. You put somebody you've never met before in front of us, we'll find you a spot.
And I spoke to Lance Archer a while back, and he had told me that he had basically been on a per tour deal all along. Are you locked down to New Japan, or do they have you on a similar deal where they're like, okay, we'll work tour to tour or whatever that may be?
I have I have 2 years left on my contract. So
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I was on a 5 years. So something unheard of in New Japan. So
yeah, it is.
I'm down to my last 2 years.
I mean, it really seemed like they would go, I don't want to say Wrestle Kingdom, but roughly new beginning to new beginning type of thing. So, I mean, they obviously put a lot of stock into you personally for a 5-year deal because that's almost unheard of. Do you prefer that to the shorter term deals, or do you like to go maybe the two or so years at a time, 1 year at a time? Which, if you had your way, would you do?
It works both ways, For me, if you give me a short-term deal, then that means I'm going to be looking at other places. If you give me a long-term deal, that means they want me to stay around, and that'll entice me to work towards helping develop whatever it is that the company wants.
We saw a bit of a change in 2019 in New Japan. We saw more of an emphasis on the young lions. We saw people like Shota Umino integrated into Moxley's debut. We saw a feud between the dojos. We saw a return of the Young Lions Cup and more individuality, it seemed, for those young lions. What do you think sparked this in New Japan?
I think it has to do with like the mass exodus that you talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of people being brought in, but brought in from other at different levels. But I think they've realized that we need to grow more homegrown talent. That way, because what I've been through, I went through it, and I feel that belonging to Japan, which they want the new kids to feel the same. When they come through, go through the system, they feel that belonging that really is genuine, instead of just coming in and leaving. So it's a long-term investment, and spreading it out to the United States and Australia and New Zealand would help with the international talent, helping keeping them in the future.
One of those homegrown talents that you're pretty familiar with, Toa Henare. What do you think his upside is? Maybe his ceiling, and what do you see in his future?
Oh, like all the young lions, Henare's got a bright future. I see him as a future champion sometime down the line, because he's still developing. He's got a great look, and he's unique because he's a native New Zealander, and he's got a big following over here. And the company would take note of that, because once we start developing all the tours and all that around this territory, then he's going to play a big part of it. So,
a reminder, guys, Bullet Club Beach Party, Saturday, April 4th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. It's at Whiskey Joe's in Tampa. Kenta, God, Haku, Matt Taven, Roosh, El Phantasmo, all set for this show.